So I want to talk about stepping outside of the insanity zone into the impact and income zone. And so I want to clarify why I'm even talking about this, why I've named this or themed this, in this way. I have previous videos where I am giving these little mini messages about the same context. And the insanity is as it relates to business owners not or entrepreneurs being afraid to market themselves and also to charge for their services. And so I have done videos where I challenge people to really examine that thought process and to make sure they're not tuning into these different spheres of biases and also influences that actually don't want them to rise. But there's always the good news and the opportunity to make shifts, even when we do examine and realize, oh, okay, this is not really healthy behavior. This really actually doesn't make sense. I'm in business. Why would I not want to charge or feel I should not be charging? And then also, why would I not want to market myself, or why would I be afraid to market myself? So when we examine that, then there's the opportunity to see what's the potential for moving forward, because you're called to be of service. And being called to be of service, when you start clarifying, making distinctions, okay, what am I actually called to be of service as? Is a nonprofit, as an actual business? Is this a charity? It's just a hobby and I just enjoy helping people? Um, a lot of times people don't think in those categories, but you do have to start thinking in those categories. And you can be all of those, because you can actually have it all. You can be in business and make the money and still be benevolent. But I have this saying that, it's okay to be benevolent, but don't become someone's bitch in the process. Okay. Meaning you can provide free to low cost initiatives. But what I do know is that most people, when they're receiving for free, it's a different level of clientele, a different level of response and respect, so to speak. So, you have to look at those things. People already think they're feeling bad for um, charging, but then you're taking sometimes some abuse and devaluation uh, for free or for a little or nothing. So again, those are contexts of insanity. But again, when you look at that, you can then make some shifts and you can actually help other people and illuminate that factor, for them as well. So, I've talked in other videos about how I have had to examine my own insanity, and I constantly do that. Okay. Um, Actually pretty religious about it sometimes, to make sure that I'm on track and that my alignment is there. But I find a way to profit from my insanity. Okay. So there's ways to turn it around where it's almost like, oh, okay, that was really a mistake, so to speak. Found a way to, to make this work. But on the side of not being able to do that, then that's crazy too. Because if you're not going to find a way to actually benefit from some of the, if you want to call it misfortunes, or some of the things that you've done and you've learned in lessons, not how not to do it, you definitely want to be able to leverage that so that you can not only help yourself, but, help someone else. Again, just me personally, I don't like feeling like something else outside of me, um, besides God, which is in me as well, but something other than that is dictating or broadcasting something that's making me feel a certain way, and that I shouldn't feel worthy of charging, and I should not feel comfortable to actually market without thinking I'm being over salesy or whatever, whatnot. There's just so much. But like anything, you have to find your alignment. You have to find the balance. And I think that if entrepreneurs spend more time actually aligning themselves with what's true for them, aligning themselves with the right way to market and communicate, and to also develop their products, even if they are developing for different price points. But you have to look at all of this and start questioning things. but also making the shift is that after you have examined, then look at, yes, how do I shift into this impact and income? Because there needs to be both. I'm here to add value and I'm here to make an impact, but you also need to get paid, okay? Because time is currency as well. And so if you're allowing people to take up your time and there's not the ROI on that, the return on investment, then yeah, then you're going to be a brand and a business that's bankrupt on so many different levels, vibrationally, the physical aspect, and just the overall context of the business or the empire. Just not a good thing. So being able to make that shift in some subtle yet significant ways is first, sometimes you do have to acknowledge that, okay, this is insane. And you don't have to acknowledge that in a judgmental way, but you do need to acknowledge this is certainly not for my highest and best good. This is certainly not the best use of my God-given gifts and talents, certainly not the best use of my time, and it certainly isn't really serving others at the highest level, because if it's not the win-win where it's to the detriment of me, then there's not the divine right value exchange. And so, yeah, you have to look at those things. But something I want to mention is that I want you to start looking at the different levels and realms of value that you provide, and then start thinking about how you charge around that, because sometimes people are like confused. How do I charge? Well, there's a lot that you have to take in consideration because you've had whether education or training or hours of study, investments that you have made. You have to bring all those things to the table when you are actually pricing. So you can't necessarily just think, well, I'm going to price it at this, prices. I don't think that people will be able to afford this. You also have to make determinations. Who are you targeting? If you're targeting low end, lower hanging fruit, low ticket, then there's just things that you don't put into that. A lot of times people think, oh, let me give all these bonuses, let me give this, let me do that. No, you need to just create something specific for people at that price. Sometimes stop giving like, oh, this is this much and I'm going to give it to you at this much. No, just create something that is a certain amount for that. It needs to be the divine right value exchange. But I can get into a whole lot of different other teachings, and trust me, I have tons around this particular topic here for sure. But yeah, so going back to developing those different levels and realms of value and being able to look and determine what you can charge. But I would say ask empowering questions, be present even with whether it's a product or a program, whatever the offering is, and treat it like a partner, treat it like it's a living, breathing, organism. And so, I'm curious to know how would you like to be put out in the market, and the value, what price point would you like to have? So those are just things to think about, and help you to start shifting from that insanity place to the impact and the income. And again, those are questions you can ask and be present with, okay? The impact that I'm trying to make, and clarify that, and then the income that I desire to make, from this initiative. And sort of just kind of create around there. But don't create from fear, don't create from confusion, because clarity gives birth to clarity when we are very intentional about our highest and best good and receiving the divine right value exchange. So if you want to learn more about this particular area, there's information below. You can learn how to work with me on air, and even off air, or even with one of my consultants, because we certainly can help you in this area, and to make those shifts and to be able to do some accelerated inner work, in a sense, to be able to catapult you into the realms that you need to be in at this point. So yeah, look at that insanity, but then just be quickly prepared to make the shift into your highest level impact and income zone.